So we'll move on to the second letter in our HVAC&R, which is V, that stands for ventilation. Now what is ventilation? You know that we have ventilation systems in a restroom or a kitchen or even an underground car parking system. But what exactly is ventilation? Why do we have to go for a ventilation inside a restroom? Now we do ventilation inside a restroom because we have bad smelling air inside. We need to take that bad smelling air out and we need fresh air coming inside, right? So we do ventilation technically to have a circulation of fresh air. Now what is fresh air? That we have to learn. Fresh air in its term has different meanings in different purposes. For example, in the case of a toilet, fresh air is a better smelling air. In the case of kitchen, fresh air is air which is having a better concentration of oxygen and a less concentration of smoke. Similarly, in the case of an underground car parking system, fresh air has different meaning under different conditions or different perspectives. Anyways, when we are going to do a ventilation system, we need atmospheric air or fresh air transferring through our space or our building air, so that I'll have a better smelling or better oxygenated or better quality air inside my building. So for that, I have two types of systems. Two types of ventilation systems are available for me. First one is called as a positive ventilation system and the next one is called as negative ventilation system. Now let's move into these two systems, right? Positive ventilation system and negative ventilation system. So let's look into a small cabin or a small room. This can be a restroom or a kitchen or an underground car parking facility. Whatever it is, you have a small room which is containing a volume of air inside it. Right? Now what I need to do is ventilate the room. That means I want fresh air to be transferring throughout this room so that I have a better quality air inside. Right? Now for this, I use something called as forced ventilation, where I just simply use a wall mounted fan. This is a wall mounted fan which is rotating like this. So what happens is, when this fan is rotating, air will be either going from here to here or it can go from here to here, depending upon the direction of rotation of the fan. Now, say in positive ventilation, I put my fan in such a manner that air will be going or air will be sucked inside from outside. So I can say that fresh air is being sucked inside. Right? But when fresh air is being sucked inside, the already containing air inside is already there. So that means extra air is coming inside. That means I have an increase in pressure inside the room, or in other words, I can say that I have positive pressure inside the room. That's why the name positive ventilation. Okay, so we have fresh air coming inside, thereby an increase in pressure, thereby we have a positive pressure. Now what happens here is, if I continue pushing air inside, the pressure inside will be intolerable. So I need this pressure to be compensated. For this, say I have a door here. Normally in each door we will have, if I have a proper ventilation system in the restroom or in any kind of situations, I have a small gap underneath the door which is known as a door undercut, or it can be termed as a bleed space. So what happens is, as the pressure increases inside the room, the extra air which is actually causing this increasing pressure will leak out like this, which can be termed as exhaust air, or I will just name it as EA, exhaust air. So when the fresh air is being sucked inside, exhaust air goes outside because of the increase in pressure. This system is called as positive ventilation system. Similarly, I can explain the same thing in negative ventilation system. All I am going to do in negative ventilation system is reverse the fan such that instead of sucking fresh air inside, the fan is going to be discharging exhaust air outside like this. So when this happens, in this case we have seen that when fresh air comes inside, the pressure increases. But in this case, when exhaust air goes outside, or air already that's inside the room goes outside, the pressure decreases. So I can say that I have negative pressure inside compared to the atmosphere or the surrounding space. So similar to here, I I have also a door here which is having a door undercut. What happens is when the pressure decreases inside and the exhaust air goes outside, we have to compensate for the reducing pressure inside. So because of it, we will have leaking fresh air inside like this. In both the systems or in both the rooms, the effect is same. I have better quality air in both of the rooms, right? The difference comes how my fan is going to be working and what is going to be the pressure inside compared to the outside. Now let's see what system we use in toilets or what system we use in kitchens. We normally go for negative ventilation systems in kitchens or toilets or car parking space. The reason for that is that if this is a restroom, this space will be normally a bedroom, right, or another room which is actually occupied by some other people. Now if I go for positive ventilation system in the case of a restroom, that bad smelling air will be leaking directly to your bedroom. Now what happens is, if that happens, you will have bad smelling air coming into the bedroom or another using area. That will be an inconvenience for you. So because of it, it's always better to directly suck out all the bad air directly into the atmosphere. That's why we go for negative ventilation systems in the case of kitchens, toilets or other kind of facilities. It doesn't mean that we don't use positive ventilation systems. We do have positive ventilation systems that we'll learn later on our sessions, right? So we'll move from ventilation or V and we'll jump into air conditioning or AC. So we'll move on to AC or air conditioning. Now as the name suggests, it simply means conditioning of air. We have already learned about heating and ventilation, but all these concepts that I've just told you will actually come inside air conditioning. Air conditioning means simply conditioning of air. So if I want to condition air inside a room, I need to understand what are the elements that I need to be conditioning, right? So we'll learn about elements of air conditioning systems, right? So we are going to learn about elements of air conditioning systems. First element that we have to do in an air conditioning system or a properly air conditioned system is temperature control. Temperature control. We all know that if you want your air or room to be air conditioned, you need to be sitting in a comfortable temperature. Depending upon the atmospheric conditions, it may be heating, it may be cooling. You may need a hotter situation inside, or you need a colder situation inside, depending upon the atmospheric conditions or the outside conditions. So that first one is called as temperature control. You can use a heating system or you can use a cooling system. If you are going for a heating system, you will have all these three methods. Either of strip heaters or reverse VCR cycle or a heat pump, or even in other words, you can go for a boiler system. If you are going for a cooling system, you will have something called as a refrigerating system inside. That I'll discuss after this session, right? So anyways, you have to go for a temperature control. Now if I want to go for temperature control, I need to understand what temperature is and how to measure temperature. Temperature in simple words is degree of hotness or degree of coldness of something, of a system in thermodynamical terms. So if I say temperature, I only mean the temperature of room air or the air inside the room, right? So to measure temperature, I have different units. Normal units that we use are degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit and Kelvin scale. Kelvin scale is not normally used for our practical purposes. Either degree Celsius or degree Fahrenheit will suffice. But in the case of our systems or Middle Eastern or Indian conditions, normal temperature rating or temperature unit is degree Celsius. So we can learn about that and this one also, right? But if I want to convert from degree Celsius to degree Fahrenheit, you need a relation between them. For that, the relation is degree Celsius is equal to 5/9 multiplied by degree Fahrenheit minus 32. This is the equation that you need to learn. Degree Celsius equals 5/9 multiplied by F minus 32 or degree Fahrenheit minus 32. Using this, you can convert between this and this, right? Now after learning about that, we'll move on. The second element of air conditioning, which is known as humidity control. Humidity control. So before I talk about humidity control, I need to understand what humidity is. What is humidity exactly? Humidity is termed as the moisture content inside a system of air. But if I say moisture, we have a misunderstanding that moisture is water content. It's not water content, it's exactly speaking water vapor content. If I say humidity, it has to be in a state of gas, not in a state of liquid or a state of obviously ice or solid. So we have to understand humidity as the concentration of water vapor in a particular volume of air. Normally humidity can be represented in different units or different terms. The most common term is called as relative humidity. Relative humidity, normally represented in percentage, right? So the maximum, as you can see, will be 100%. The least or minimum will be 0%. Now both of them are extremely hard to obtain, but still you have to understand the minimum or the driest air that we can get is 0% RH, relative humidity, and the maximum is saturated air, which is 100% humidity, right? So we'll understand that later. Now we'll move on to why we have to do humidity control. Why do we have to do exactly humidity control? Because when we go into a room, we feel that the room is either hot or cold compared to the outside, and we feel that we are actually comfortable sitting inside, right? But we don't exactly feel the humidity inside because we don't really term or quantify humidity inside. Now what is the reason for controlling humidity inside if that's the case? Now before that, we have to assume two places. For example, assume Chennai. Assume a place, somebody sitting in Chennai, and there's a summer condition there. Suppose the temperature right now is 35 degrees Celsius. Right? Now assume another situation that's in Ooty. A person sitting in OT but has the same temperature because there is also summer there, and we have at daytime there is a temperature which reached 35 degrees Celsius, right? At both the places, if I compare the same person sitting in Chennai and Ooty at the same temperature, you can actually see that the person will be more comfortable sitting in Ooty rather than in Chennai. Now what is the reason for that? We can understand this by comparing the humidity levels in Ooty and Chennai. In Chennai, the humidity levels can reach up to 70%. The reason for this is because you have sea nearer to Chennai. That means a breeze will be bringing in a lot of humidity or water vapor content, which will increase the RH level inside Chennai. This is closer to the maximum, which is 100. Right? In Ooty, the maximum humidity that we can go will be about 30%. Will be from 30 to 40% at maximum. So what happens is, because Ooty is actually a very high place, you don't really have a sea nearer to it. That means Ooty will be having much less humidity content. This is the reason we are more comfortable sitting in Ooty than in Chennai. Now the explanation for that lies in our human body. Okay, human body always sweats. Say this is a water droplet sitting on our skin. Now why do we have to sweat, or why do we sweat? The reason for sweating is that we have to cool down our body to a core temperature of approximately 37 degrees Celsius. Right? This is our core temperature. If the temperature goes beyond 203 degrees Celsius, that will be fatal for us. So because of it, if I do a hard work, if the surrounding temperature is getting hotter and hotter, my body has to cool down the core temperature to 37 degrees Celsius. Sweating is the resistive reaction of my body to cool down the core temperature to 37 degrees Celsius. What my body does is get the water which is liquid water inside my blood on the top of my skin. Now what happens is, whenever a liquid becomes in contact with atmospheric air, the liquid molecules have a tendency to be converted from liquid to vapor state. So what happens is, this liquid molecule is going to be converted to vapor state. Now for this, I have told you at the beginning of my lecture that heat is required to convert from solid to liquid and then from liquid to gas or vapor. So if I want this liquid molecule to be converted to vapor molecule, I need heat. right? Now there is no other heat source other than my human body. So what happens here is, when this liquid molecule or liquid water gets contact with atmospheric air, it has a volatility content or volatility property. It tries to become vapor. For this process, it absorbs heat from my body, thereby cooling me down. This is called as sweating, or the process of sweating. Now, as this is happening, so let's see what happens when sweating occurs. When sweating occurs, this is my skin, this is the water droplet which is sweat, and this is the water being converted to vapor. Now when this happens, the atmosphere is filled with a lot of particles. It has dust, it has oxygen, it has carbon dioxide, it has a lot of things, nitrogen, a lot of things. With that, it also has water vapor content. Now I told you before, RH, or relative humidity, is a proportion of the water vapor content in air, right? So say in the case of Chennai, somebody is sitting in Chennai, when this process happens, the atmosphere is already filled with 70% water vapor that can be filled. 100% can be filled, 70% is already filled, and the chance of this going into atmosphere as vapor is less compared to somebody sitting in Ooty, because in Ooty the percentage of RH is only 30. That means the atmosphere is not really filled. There's a lot of space to be filled by water. So this process, or the sweating which is being evaporated into atmosphere, can be happening much more faster rather than in Chennai. So that means somebody staying in Ooty, even though the temperature is the same, will be feeling more comfortable, because he will not be sweating, because as the sweat is being released, it will be readily converted to vapor, thereby cooling his body down. That is why we have to control humidity level inside a room. The humidity level inside a room will be controlled for that, so that the person who is sitting inside will be feeling comfortable. Even if you don't control humidity, the person inside will be feeling very stuffy. That means he will be feeling very uncomfortable, right? So that's about humidity control. We'll move on to the third element that we have to control. The third element is air purity, or in another words, I can term this as dust control. Now dust is already always inside our air. We cannot really completely reduce or completely eliminate dust inside air, because dust is normally microscopic, and we can actually reduce the amount of dust, not eliminate it completely. Now for this, we have to use some kind of filter mechanisms, and for this we can go for air filters. And we have different types of air filters normally used. We have 10 micron filter, we have 5 micron filters, you have HEPA filters, which are high efficiency particulate air filters, and you have ALPA, which are ultra low penetration air filters. These are the normal type of filters that we are going to be coming across. We have 10 micron filter and 5 micron filters. These are normally used in the case of normal applications like an office room or a residential cabin, or like a bedroom or something. You have shopping malls, or all those kind of applications will be normally handled by either a 10 micron filter or a 5 micron filter. That's enough. Now if I move on to a cleaner room like an operation theatre or an ICU or a pharmaceutical application, we'll have to go for a better efficiency filter. In that cases we will go for either HEPAs or ALPAs. HEPA is a high efficiency particulate air filter, ALPA is an ultra low penetration air filter. Both have an efficiency greater than 99.99%. Right? So that's about air purity control or dust control. We'll move on. Order control. Odor means smell. Basically, it means smell or bad smell. Smells are actually different for us. You have some smells are good for some persons, some are bad for some persons. Anyways, if I sit in some a room for a continuous period of like 1 or 2 or 3 hours, you will eventually produce a lot of body odor, and that body odor will be continuously circulating throughout your room, which makes it very uncomfortable to be sitting in. So because of it, you need some kind of a mechanism to reduce this odor, which may be body odor or some kind of odor that's going to be happening. Unfortunately, no machine can be developed that can understand which smell is good for us, which smell is bad for us. So because of it, you can have different kind of methods to absorb all of the air particles or odor particles from the room, which will absorb all the bad smell and also the good smells. Or you can go for smell masking methods. Smell masking methods, where you can use perfumes to mask the bad smell there, so you will feel more comfortable sitting inside, like a movie theater. Or in other words, you can go for a proper ventilation system, which will circulate fresh air from outside through the room, thereby reducing the concentration of bad odor inside. These are the mechanisms that we can control, we can control odor inside a room, right? With that, we'll move on to the next element that we have to control. This is not something that we need to control, this is something that we have to make sure when you have an air conditioned room, which is known as air distribution. What my air conditioning machine is going to be doing is increase the quality of air inside the room. So if I sit in this corner of the room or in this corner of the room, what happens is, or what I need to feel is equal quality. That means I should be feeling equal cooling, equal humidity control or equal odor control, and everything should be equal or same when I sit in one corner of the room or on the other corner of the room. That means I have a properly distributed air conditioning system inside the room. So for this, I need to make sure a properly air distributed system. This is called as, or this is the next element that we have to control. So I'll go for the final element, which is called as oxygen level control. Oxygen level control is very important for us because we are going to be doing air conditioning inside a room for the human beings who are going to be sitting inside a room. So we require a lot of oxygen, and after a while, if I just keep on circulating the same air over and over, even if I cool it down or dehumidify it or keep the smell good, or even if I purify it, if I'm not having proper level of oxygen, that means I'll be suffocating inside, right? So because of it, I have to keep the oxygen level at a comfortable position. So because of it, what I'm going to do is simply have a proper ventilation system. If I can circulate fresh air through the space, then I'll have properly oxygenated room because I have proper oxygen levels on the outside of the room, right? So with that, I can wind up the elements of air conditioning system, or basically this is the basics about air conditioning. Now we can learn the detail about air conditioning on the further chapters. Right. So we'll move on to the next one. Let's look into R, which stands for refrigeration. Yes. So what is refrigeration? We all know that it is the principle of your refrigerator that's in your house, or in other words, a fridge. The principle or working principle of the refrigerator is called as refrigeration. Now, what exactly is refrigeration? Thermodynamically speaking, refrigeration is the process of transferring heat from a lower temperature system to a higher temperature system by the application of external work. Now, let's look into that. Say I have a pen. This pen is a higher temperature body. That means the temperature of this pen is higher. Now this is another pen which is actually a lower temperature system. Consider this is a higher temperature system, this as a lower temperature system. Now Thermodynamics states that if I connect these two systems by some kind of medium, what happens is heat will start to flow from the higher temperature system to the lower temperature system until both the temperatures become equal. Now, refrigeration is the process of reversing this. That means I will be transferring heat from the lower temperature system to the higher temperature system, but this will not happen naturally. So because of it, I have to employ an external work in between that transfers the heat from this system to this system. That means the lower temperature system becomes even more lower or colder, and the higher temperature system will become even more hotter. This process is simply called as refrigeration. That is the working of the refrigerator, which cools down the space inside it, which is already cold, and it takes the heat from inside space and discharges that heat into the atmosphere or the surrounding space, which is already colder than the inside of the room. Inside of the refrigerator. Now that's called as refrigeration. So what refrigeration means is the transfer of heat from the lower temperature system to the higher temperature system by the application of external work, which is the working principle of a fridge. Now what the fridge does is it already has a colder temperature air or void inside, which will be cooled down even more by the refrigerator. That means it discharges the heat from the inside surface, which is already cold, to the outside, which is already hot. And that is the working, or that is actually the principle of refrigeration. Right. So we'll move on to refrigeration systems. For achieving refrigeration, you have two types of cycles. First one is called as a vapor absorption refrigeration cycle, or VAR. We have the second one, which is known as vapor compression refrigeration cycle, or VCR. You have two cycles to achieve the refrigeration process, which is basically cooling. I have vapor absorption refrigeration system, or VAR system, or VAR cycle. I have vapor compression refrigeration cycle, or VCR cycle. And you might have learned about both of them, but I'll just briefly explain both of them. And you need to understand, we will not have to learn more about VAR cycle, because VAR cycle is not something that is very commonly employed. VAR cycle, the reason for not employing VAR cycle that commonly is because VAR cycle uses a component called as a generator. It's not a normal electrical generator. It's a component, and the name is generator. Inside the generator, you will have a solution which normally will have water and something else. The solvent in the case of common system is lithium bromide and water. Lithium bromide is the solvent, and you have a solution of lithium bromide plus water. Inside the component called as generator, we use heat coming from some kind of fuel to heat up this solution of water and lithium bromide, so that we can actually vaporize water and thereby increasing the concentration of the solution. Now for this process, as I told you, you require a lot of heat. For that you may have to burn a fuel. This process is not going to be that easy in the case of a common application like an office or a residential building, right? So in that case, VAR is not really possible, because VAR needs to have an abundance of direct heat energy. But in the case of a residential application or an office application, the kind of energy that we are acquired with is electrical energy. So if I have any other cycle that I can use electrical energy directly, then that will be much more suitable for me. That's why we will be employing VCR cycle, and the working component in a VCR cycle is basically a compressor, and because of that, compressor can be easily run by an electric motor which uses direct electricity. So because of it, VCR cycle is much more efficient or much more practical for a common application like an office or a shopping mall or a hotel or even a residential building. So because of it, we'll have to learn more about VCR cycle, not more about VAR cycle.